I went to a property auction. It was a fairly large house with a huge plot of land just outside of town. The guy that had owned it passed away, and with no family to inherit it, eventually the estate decided to auction it off to help pay for some of the other debts he had accrued while still alive. There were only a small crowd that showed up to bid, so I had high hopes that I'd be top bidder. I signed in, got my number, and sat down. Bidding was a bit more competitive than I had figured, and I spent more on the property than I had intended, but still way under market value, so in my mind I was still ahead. But it did put me in a sour mood. That mood went even further south when I signed the papers and was told I'd be responsible for removing anything left on the property that I didn't want. I was also informed that this guy had tires. A lot of them. That put a damper on my profit, as disposing tires could get real expensive. I called the electric company and had them turn the power on, and made my way to the store to pick up some odds and ends while I waited. I sure didn't want to be exploring this house in the dark. When I pulled into the driveway, I had high hopes it wouldn't be much of a mess, but those hopes were misplaced. There was junk everywhere. But as I looked around outside, I didn't see any tires. I went through the house and wasn't bad as I figured. Then I set my sights on the large barn and made my way in. This space felt odd. Like you could still feel the presence of the previous owner. And, yep, there were the tires, stacked to the roof, even more in the center. It would cost me a fortune to clean this up. I could also smell oil fuel and tracked it down. There was a heater in the corner of the barn, and when the power came on, it came back on too. But at least that was working, but it still didn't help my mood. Angry, I walked over to one stack of tires and gave it a kick. It did make me feel slightly better, so I did it again. Though this time, it caused the tire to shift, and they all started to fall towards me. I dropped to the ground and put my hands above my head to protect it. The sound was terrifying, but it was soon over. I opened my eyes, amazed I hadn't been crushed by hundreds of tires, but no. They fell in such a way as they were leaning into each other, and I had a small space to move around in. Then, I smelt it. The unmistakable smell of burning rubber. Some of the tires must have fallen against the furnace and caught fire. Frantic, I tried to push the tires, but to no avail. I could hear an eerie laugh from the barn. It echoed and came all around as if it was coming everywhere at once. The fire drew closer.